I'll see. Now this time I know what you're reading. I can tell by the cover.
Yeah, I'm running through a range of emotions in Jeremy Adams' finale to his Flash run with issue 800.
Yeah, yeah, it really is a kind of a bittersweet type of a moment, isn't it?
It
Uh,
is.
but we will talk about that, and we'll also talk about the Steelworks #1 as well. We'll get to that, both of those, right after this. Welcome to another edition of DC Comics Deep Dive. I am Paul. He is Mark. Before we get started, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Make sure you hit the notification bell. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you hit the comment on what we're talking about here and what you think about the issues that we're talking about, because we want to hear what you have to say. And it means a lot to the YouTube algorithms if you comment and you like and you subscribe and things like that. So, besides to us personally as well.
Yeah.
So we got two comments to talk about this time. We have the Flash #800, which was part of the Dawn of DC checklist, although it's not doesn't have the trade dress on it. And then we have Steelworks #1. So
Got both of those.
yeah, exactly.
Fantastic covers to choose from. If you haven't picked them up yet, be sure to look around. The Flash movie variants started this week. They dropped some foily goodness, and even with Steelworks, man, there is some amazing variants out there.
That's a great callback back to the Man of Steel #1. Long time ago. That was also done by John Bogdanov. Yeah,
Bogdanovin.
yeah.
Donovan.
But that's it was Superman in the exact same pose from Man of Steel #1 way back in the 90s.
All the way back in the
all the way back in the 90s. So, the reason I say that is because there is in the in the Impulse story, there is a little tiny one of those editor's notes that says this happens before Impulse #6 and 7, and then it says, yes, Impulse had his own book at one time. Ask your parents. And I'm like, I remember that.
I had one in my hand for $10 yesterday, and I ended up putting it back.
Yeah, it says ask your parents. I'm like, oh, I'm so old.
That's not cool at all, DC.
Yeah. So let's talk about the Flash number 800, a celebration of Wally West.
Wally West. Let's go and put that out there, man. This whole run has been a celebration of Wally West.
It really has. Jeremy Adams just does a huge job. Now, a lot of times with like these milestone issues, you either get like these huge, like title changing or character changing type issues, like with Spider-Man 100 where he grows those extra arms, or you have Superman 500, which was the Adventures of Superman 500, where you have the return of Superman, right? Exactly, right? Or you get these kind of like celebration issues like we have here, and that's kind of what we have. Although we will take a look at what's going to come forward, what's going to come next for Wally West as well. So, but yeah, we kind of start off. We have 5 different stories here. Written by Wally West or Flash writers, past and present. So we have Jeremy Adams, we have Mark Waid, we have Joshua Williamson, we have Jeff Johns, and then we have Cy Spurrier, who are past, present, and I should have said and future, past, present, and future writers.
So Cy will be taking it over starting with this issue. He gets the last mini story in here. I was thinking, I wasn't sure because I haven't read ahead for synopses on Flash 1 because I didn't want to potentially spoil anything in the story current. But I was wondering if we're moving over to Barry, especially with the movie coming and stuff, because Wally is my Flash kind of thing. I love Barry, but I prefer a Flash book to be on Wally right now, especially like it just makes sense. Give Barry more of a seniority level kind of thing.
Right. Well, we'll get the synopses or the solicitations for Cy's first issue will come this month because we got the 2 Night Terrors that happened first.
Oh yeah, I didn't even think about that. Yeah.
So his doesn't really start until September, which we'll get the solicitations for that this month, probably like a week from Friday, I think. Probably.
But it's looking like from the end of this issue, from his excerpt, that it is going to be Wally focused after all.
Yeah. Exactly. Yep. But we start off, as we said, with kind of a bittersweet moment. It is Jeremy Adams' final take on Wally West, and it's these kind of nondescript type villains that are kind of sitting around.
Zine
Um,
listers, actual zine listers.
exactly. Exactly. Who are talking about, where do they think the best city is, to kind of, plunder and,
To
kind of
crime in. Where
to
should we
crime and
crime? Where do y'all crime?
exactly, exactly. And so they're talking about it, and they're talking about, Gotham City, and they're talking about Metropolis, and they talk about Coast City, and they have, they talk about the different heroes that are there, and then someone finally, brings up Central City, and they're like, no, you don't go to Central City, and they're like, oh, why? And so they talk about, how the Joker. Even the Joker came to Central City, and he won't ever come back
Mhm.
because of he tried to release some Joker gas, and Wally West sent him, flying back to Gotham. And
The
then
condiment king tried to rob a bank, and before he could even get a sentence out, he was standing in a desert and was left there.
took him a month and a half to get home or something. I think he
Yeah,
said, right, something like that. Um,
they
eh,
talk about the trouble of there being kid speedsters that you have to
mhm.
deal with. You never know what's going to happen. And who was the magician that they told the story of the magician character?
Mordru,
Yeah, Mordrew showed up, and because he took a lollipop from a kid, Wally West popped up and gave him the no, no, no. So Mordrew thought he'd teleport away, and Wally followed him to the literal end of existence, where creation is actually happening just to get the lollipop back. And it actually drove his mind insane to think that this guy could actually care that much, but he does.
right? Exactly. And so they were talking about it. So they kind of, some of the people don't really believe him. And it's like, how does he do it? And he says, well, it's funny because he kind of talks to you first.
That dog, the bounty hunter, he's gonna beat you up, bear mace you, and then he's gonna pray with you on the way to jail.
Right, exactly. Um, and so suddenly there is a knock at the door, and on the other side of the door is Wally West
Yeah,
saying,
because in
"Hey,
that moment they reveal, like, dude, I,
right,
I robbed the bank in there today, and he hasn't done anything. Everyone freaked out. You did what? And
mhm,
they're like, we gotta get out of here. And one says, it's
right,
gotta already be too late. Knock, knock, knock.
right." And so in on the other side of the door is Wally West, who says, "Hey, do you have some time to chat?" So let me bring you over
Yeah, dude, that
there,
was
and then
hilarious. Hey, you have some time to chat?
yeah,
That was just so funny. I'm like, yo, that was perfect.
mhm,
That was perfect.
right.
Don't
So
come to Central City is the official
right.
name of the story.
Right. So, Jeremy kind of ends on kind of a comical note. One of the things that I thought of too is like, in a lot of different titles, you will see like villains from other heroes a lot of times, come in and out of like, and you don't see that a lot in the Flash, but I think a lot of that is because of my personal opinion. I think, Batman and the Flash and the Spider-Man have the three best rogues galleries in my
Mhm.
in my personal opinion.
Easily.
Yeah, so you don't need to do that with Flash because she just has so many. You have so many things to work with in the Flash that you don't need to see a lot of those other villains from other heroes. But yeah, it's kind of So maybe Jeremy was kind of playing with that. It's why don't we see those other villains from other heroes show
Mhm.
up? And this is he gives us a reason why. So definitely ending on a strong note. Although
Yeah,
again, it's kind of sad.
bittersweet for sure. The
Hmm.
next story was really fun too. Mark Wade gave us the second story offering in here, and this is the one that you kind of touched on. This is the impulse story. Starts
Hmm.
with Bart just getting ready for the day, and Max appears in the mirror in front of him, telling him, "We need help." And it looks like Barry is trapped in the mirror with him. So obviously, we know Mirror Master's up to something. And it turns out there's a time limit to their existence as they are fading away, and they need Bart to get out there and get Mirror Master and help solve this. But we get into the classic Bart dilemma in this.
Right. That he's not necessarily, although he is really kind of bright. He doesn't really portray himself as that bright to other people. Um,
Very impatient.
right, very impatient. At one point, I think Flash says to Max, he's like, he's got to hurry up. He goes, "I would hate my last words to be kill the kid." Right.
Yeah, like Barry attempts, like what they need to do, they need you to go get Mirror Master, and as soon as they get that out, he takes off and he takes out Mirror Master within moments, and they're like, "Yo, good job, but you didn't ask him how to get us out of here." He's like, "Well, maybe it's in his gun. Check his gun." He broke his mirror gun in the
Mhm.
process, so they're like, "Are you kidding me? You got to slow down, kid." And he gets one more sentence out, and he's already taking off. And one of my favorite lines was when Max tells Barry, "Look, Barry, the kid's not dumb. He's actually pretty bright, but he's like the Mars rover. He works best if you give him one directive at a time." I'm like,
Right.
yes.
Right,
Yes.
exactly. So he manages to put the gun back together, but when he clicks it, nothing happens because he doesn't have a power source for it yet. So now he's got to try to figure out what the power source is. And they're like, I don't know, like brainwaves, jumper cables, what do you use? And he takes a look at the side of the gun and he sees the letters MPS on the side of the gun. And so he takes off. And they're like, again, he just took off on us. We have like mere moments left in here. And he took off on us. And he comes back and he shoots the gun. And he manages, and it pulls Max and Wally out of the mirror. And again, to everyone's point, he is kind of bright. He realized that MPS was miles per
Miles
second,
per second.
right?
Yeah.
And so it draws from the speed. That's how it powers the gun, and so that's the way that he was able to get them out. But yeah, it's just a kind of a fun story,
Mhm.
that Mark Wade wrote here.
But ironically, Wally West wasn't in it at all.
Right, exactly,
But it's cool that we are hitting on the Flash family here. And this next one is kind of a Barry story as well.
correct. Yep. Here we have Wally and
We
we
have
got
Barry and Iris getting
go
ready
ahead.
to go out for their night out on the town.
Mhm. Right, and so they kind of runs through some things. They get on to they go back to the restaurant that they initially met at. They get onto the cosmic treadmill and take off from there. They find that they're actually attacked while they are on their date, and then
They meet up with some super
oh
characters of
right,
this era, which I don't know who these people are supposed to be. They kind of look like them to me in a sense. Like, I'll be honest with you, this story was a little bit
yeah.
convoluted.
I mean, they have the Flash symbols on their chests, so
Hmm.
they're somehow connected to the Flash. But I was the
And
same
they
thing with
hug
with
and
you.
love. They hug each other's opposite. Like he hugs her and she hugs him. Have no clue who it is, but it's like they're double dating with themselves almost. It's very weird.
Right. Um, and so we end up with basically them coming back, and they end up talking to Wally and Linda, and they basically have done everything in like the flash of a second because um, although when they come back. They say, you just left a second ago. For them, it was a much longer time. So,
He said, "Yeah,
um,
we forgot something. Y'all want to come with us?" Kind of thing.
yeah,
Yeah,
the title is Flash Family, so I'm gonna go with the fact that I think that those are some of their descendants. I'm
future
thinking,
descendants. Yeah,
yeah,
kind of what I was kind of insinuating because it looked like them, but I don't
yeah,
know. It's just so not. It's not specific at all
right,
whatsoever. But the whole point of this story wasn't necessarily to know who those characters were. It's just me kind of wanting to. It was just kind of that what it was showing us is where Wally learned his compassion is an importance for family. And what we
hmm
see in this is Barry and Iris go out away from the family to do something, but they make sure that they're back to go get back with the rest of the Flash family and to bring them with them out on that special evening that they were having. But they also found time for themselves and their relationship. It was showing a balance that a lot of these Flash characters don't necessarily find very often, or they're constantly battling to find.
hmm yes, absolutely. And again, this one was Joshua Williamson, who wrote 100 issues of the Flash. To start off the Rebirth. Um, then we jump to Jeff Johns and Scott Collins,
Yo, this
who
was wicked.
yeah, go ahead.
So this is a Zoom story, not Eobard Thawne. This is the Hunter Zolomon Zoom.
hmm
And yo, it's actually sad. It starts off in a flashback with him as a kid and him kind of like the troubled childhood kind of thing. Then it pops over one page later and we see Hunter in the Speed Force and he's monologuing about how he's different and how he is not actually a speedster and how he's actually able to control time itself. And from other people's perspective, it looks like he's traveling super fast, but he's really controlling what part of time he's existing in, which we've known for a while, but it's cool to retread that. The artwork in this is awesome, and it kind of throws back to a little bit of his origin here. So I'm thinking, I don't know why we're doing an origin telling you this. Is he going to be relevant here soon? Which I hope so. He hasn't been in a while. But we get a little callback to him as an officer that he accidentally gets people that are really close to him killed. We see him like get mad at the memory and rage out. He's got the weird metal eye things, kind of like Kano from Mortal Kombat, but he rages out and the lightning bolt pops on, his suit pops on, and he kind of just starts moving back through time. It's kind of just a story treading on who he is and why he is, giving us some fantastic art and like just a little explanation of him. And that's kind of a shout out homage to his first appearance in comics right there. That was the cover art. So we saw that twice, once with Steel and once with that little homage to the 90s covers. And what we see happen to him is him use this emotion and use this energy to what looks like escape the Speed Force. And now he's back in the world here.
Mm-hmm.
So Hunter, who doesn't have Speed Force powers, who is pretty much looked like in prison there, has just angered his way back out of there.
Yeah. And to your point, I mean, Jeff Johns makes it very clear that he doesn't have speed. He likens it to he can control the flow of a river. So he says it's kind of like if he's standing in the middle of the river, he can control the flow that's going on around him. So that's kind of what he compared it to.
Yeah. Yeah, he looked menacing, dude. Like like where Eobard Thawne always has like, I don't know, he has a different way and a different swagger to him, despite their costumes being similar. These personalities are no way similar, really, whatsoever.
Right. And it was, I mean, the combination of Jeff Johns and Scott Collins just harkens back to when they were on Flash.
Yeah, this art was great.
Or a long time ago. So,
that was Rebirth stuff.
What's that?
Was that Flash Rebirth?
Yes, right after Flash Rebirth. Flash Rebirth with Ethan Van Sciver, but then it's the series that followed it. Yeah, that was Scott Collins. And then we have the final story, which is the kind of the look forward with Cy Spurrier and Mike Deodato Jr. And it's I got to tell you, I mean, I really love the art. I hope that they keep up with that. Mike Deodato always
Cy Spurrier. Because, like, me going into this, we've been talking about it. Like, this is going to be a huge tone shift going from Jeremy Adams' run, the lighthearted, the family feel, to Cy Spurrier, who I keep saying, I feel like just from my experience, this guy should be writing Suicide Squad. Darker, more realistic, grounded feeling to everything. And this most certainly was that. But, it hit. When it goes from just like, just talking on the art of what we can expect moving forward, just going from like these kind of somber, like soft tones in the regular setting, and as soon as we hit like the superheroing on the next page, it lights up.
Yeah,
it lights up.
Yeah, I mean, especially that last page you just showed. I mean, there's the panel of them at dinner where they're talking. That to me, that is Steve Rude as well. I mean, that is almost exactly, to me, looks just like a Steve Rude type of a panel.
Just less painting on it.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of exposition going on. It's basically a monologue of what Wally is doing.
He's having dinner with Linda, and he's promised her, "You have my full attention. We're here. We're together. I'm taking the night off." And all the while, he's living in between the seconds and having to run out and get back. And unfortunately, something happens when one of his runs out that does not allow him to get back. And we kind of dive into that. He kind of gets stuck fighting this thing, which to me almost looked like the Black Eraser in some parts. I was waiting for that to be a reveal, but it was not. And he's getting cut up and beat up and stuck, and it's taking him a while to get back. And it's not like a long time for us, but it's a long time for him. It's almost been 1 second kind of thing. And it turns out he's fighting Mirror Master with some extra tech on him to kind of juice him up. And long story short, he takes out Mirror Master, gets him in jail, and he goes running so fast that he's going through like multiple different multiverse worlds here. And that panel was wicked.
Mm-hmm.
Like getting to see like the comparison of all the different places as he's going and feeling the effects of what just happened to him. And then he gets there. And when he gets there, he actually made it back quick enough for Linda not to notice. Unfortunately, everything around him noticed because there was everything else, him catch how fast he went, that wind effect. It all came in and just leveled everything around him. Tables, other patrons inside had no clue what's going on, but she obviously knows, and she She gets up and walks out, and then we get the real big kicker of, I guess, what's going to be night terrors, right?
I don't know. I'm thinking.
Is this going to be the run itself?
I'm thinking there's in the in the ads that they've done for the Dawn of DC. There have been
Hmm.
these tentacles that have been below that have
Hmm.
kind of looked like Brainiac almost, right? But I'm wondering if that's what these are instead. You know?
Yeah, so we get the tentacles here, and they did give you like the briefest of things about Cy Spurrier's run. They didn't say Barry or Wally, but they said the Flash is going to be facing like God. I mean, I already forgot, man. But it had something to do. It seemed nightmarish, and I didn't know if it. I didn't equate it at the time to night terrors at all. So I'm wondering if that's what this is, or some kind of entity using this first rogue of his. Like now he has so much bigger plans, and but yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, it might be. Like I said, I mean, I'm wondering if this is what was supposed to be those tentacles that were at the bottom of all of those Dawn of DC things. But maybe not. Maybe I mean, it certainly could be either one.
Yeah,
I think.
but here's the good news. It said not the end. Join Wally and the Flash family in a new #1 this September. So I'm wondering, I mean, it's still up in the air too, but I'm wondering if Wally's our primary focus. This is a celebration of Wally. So did we get a Wally story because of that? We're going to shift over to a different character. But if you look at Cy and like even the first cover is nondescript, man,
Mhm.
because he has the straight mask over the nose like Wally, where Barry's goes up, but he also has like the cut lines in the back of it. It doesn't come straight down like Wally's. You know what I mean? It's like it could be either one still. Like it's artist
Right.
interpretation. I can't tell who it is.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I mean, I know at one time when we were talking to Jeremy Adams that there was some talk about doing a Flash Family story book.
Hmm.
That would
Now
be kind of
his
cool too.
logo is raised like Wally's is. Wally tends to have the yellow circle around it and it's raised, where Barry's just the white stamp with the bolt. So I don't know. I'm hoping it's Wally.
Mm.
We have too
Yeah,
much going on with Wally. We're too invested in Wally right now to hard shift away from Wally. You can't do that to us.
right. I'm totally with you. 100% behind you.
They just had a
Um,
kid.
right, exactly. Um, so let's talk about Steelworks.
Let's do it.
Um, Steelworks, written by Michael Dorn, who was the voice of Steel in the Superman the Animated Series, and is probably better known for being Worf in Star Trek in the Star Trek series, and I think is actually quite a good comic writer.
Yeah, I think he did really well. Like in terms of like how we talk about how well a comic can flow.
Mhm.
The actual dialogue flowed just fine. I'll be honest, it was heavy. It was dialogue heavy where I don't necessarily think it needed to be. But I don't know if this is his first comic, but either way, he did good. But I can see like if you're new to it, you're kind of how much is too much kind of thing. I think
Right.
he might have been some unnecessary dragging on of scenes, but I don't think it took away from it at all.
Yeah, like he has basically what amounts to probably 6 or 7 pages of just um, you know,
Todd McFarlane level dialogue.
yeah, that is basically one person just talking the entire 7 pages about steelworks and what it means to the city and what it means to everything going
And
on and how.
because of that, this is probably the easiest book to ever do a synopsis on. It's literally John Henry Irons giving a speech to the public about what he wants to do with Steelworks. He's told the public that he is Steel and that he's going to take the new Steelworks company and take the new technology they have and bring it to people so that we don't have to rely on superheroes. Nothing against superheroes. We owe them our life, we owe them our world, but we are forgetting how to do for ourselves. When Nat, after the speech, tells him it was very ambitious, and she kind of questioned the idea of him hanging up this steel and bringing this to people, and he compared it to like our reliance on calculators, for example. Like
Right.
with calculators, no one knows how to do math anymore. So what happens when you take the calculator away? We don't need to do away with our heroes, but we have to be able to be self-reliant as well. That needs to be my gift to these people. These heroes have done so much for me. It's my responsibility because I'm capable to bring a better sense of self-sufficiency to the individuals of Metropolis, to make it a place that it's supposed to be, the way it should be, the beacon and the pinnacle of this planet. We have to do that,
Right.
and that's his goal.
Right. And then there is a subsequent story that starts out here with a nondescript person that we don't know who is met by someone in basically an alley, who says, you know what, follow me, but keep your distance. He basically is led into this cemetery somewhere, who is then led into, you know, another
Yeah,
place.
he's being tailed while he's walking around drunk, looks down on his luck, unkept, and he's being watched by rich people in a limo. And they're
Right.
like, this guy will do. He looks like a good candidate, kind of thing. And they end up throwing him in the limo and taking him back to their place. Turns out this guy's down on his luck because John Henry Irons big leagued his company out of business, and he lost
Mhm.
his job. You know, in the it was Amatech that was the infrastructure company for Metropolis. And because he lost his job, he couldn't provide for his sick wife and kid, and they ended up dying.
Right.
And so this guy, this other big,
Right.
go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know. And this guy, Charles Walker III, is the guy. He basically bought up the remains of the old Amatech, and so he's now giving. He wants to give this person a chance now to get revenge on
Mhm.
John Henry. So,
We
go
share
ahead.
the same goals. We're going to take down Steelworks. Well, we're going to do that. I've heard this before. Let's help each other out. Then the little guy gets crapped on. And long story short, of course, Walker the Third is a villain. He's been up to all kinds of no good, and we find that out when the guy tells him no, and he just pushes him back, gets hit with a tractor beam, and he's in pain. And then it gets really weird. I have no clue what these panels. All right, so you have Walker and his driver, who's a big hulking like henchman. They hit him with the little beam and say, "We've been testing this on people. I'd like to tell you it's not going to hurt, but it does." And you see this poor guy kind of twist and turn and cry out, and the beam retracts, and then the henchman walks up and shoves him into the wall, just pushes him, and he falls head first into the wall, thud. And as soon as he hits the wall, the door opens and a naked version of him steps out. And then Walker simply says, "Now run." Makes zero sense.
Right.
You push him into a wall, he walks out naked, and they tell him to run. I don't understand what the hell just happened. Did they clone him in the next room over? Like, there's not enough context in that one.
Right. I'm assuming we will find out in issue 2 because that's really the end that we see of that guy. Um,
They don't show him, but we assume that he ran to Steelwork because he
right.
says, "Tell them to run." You turn the page, and the alarms are firing off in Steelworks on the ground level. John Henry Iron sees it. Cutscene. Nat's already down there in full gear, and you see the security guards all shooting, and her sitting down there, and got her little cannons firing off and everything, and it says, "To be continued in the next issue," titled "Collateral Damage."
Right. And then they offer some kind of some history of John Henry Irons, through through his basically his creation.
Yeah, three
Um,
big events that affected him directly.
right. We have Doomsday. We have
Superwoman.
right the yep. Steelworks Tower Construction, the explosion, Ultra Woman, and the explosion that was just occurred in the Action Comics with Metallo.
Metallo.
Right.
So
And this
basically, three big dramatic events for Metropolis that he was there for that are kind of giving us an idea of why he thinks it's important for Metropolis. And because his big plan has to do with not just empowering the citizens with new tech and renewable energy source that we got from War World and Philip Kennedy Johnson's run, but infrastructure. Metropolis needs stronger infrastructure. Metallo shouldn't be able to punch a hole in a building anymore. You know, if a big monster shows up here, a building shouldn't collapse because of it. We've come this far. Why can't our like infrastructure withstand stuff better? You know, and I'm like, dude, that's an ingenious concept to bring to the table here.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. And again, the kudos to Michael Dorn for coming up with, all that backstory and everything, and the way he uses it, because and he explains it in a way, that's easy to understand. Like you said before, you think of it as like a calculator. Does anybody know math anymore? No, because they all rely on the calculator type of a thing. So, he very good at explaining it in a way that anybody can understand.
Yeah,
And
he's
kind of
definitely good at explaining. I think that his film and television view kind of hindered this a little bit in a sense that with in a comic book medium, especially with an issue one, there wasn't any action in
Right,
this. There really wasn't. This was all exposition and set up. It like I'm assuming once we get the 6 issues, this is going to be formatted much like you would see a film or a movie.
right,
Like the slow intro. We'll get an event in the middle where the heroes can't rise to the occasion and lick their wounds and come back in that issue six kind of thing. And the first half of issue six will be. So I'm thinking this is going to be a very predictable, generic format. But that being the case, knowing that, like I'm definitely going to buckle up and ride this one out. Like where I wasn't blown away by this first issue, I like the concept, I like the ideas, I like what they're doing with the characters. Dude, just looking at the art in this is
hmm
just like worth the price of admission. Like this is some solid art in this one.
yeah, it really is. So it's a strong start, but yeah, I mean, it definitely needs to kind of build up the tension and the action and things like that as it goes along. So, and I'm sure that it will. So,
Oh yeah,
uh, Um, but that's Flash 800. We will get a new Flash number one. Although I did notice on the Batman one this week that they're doing the legacy numbering now
yeah.
on the DC comics, which is obviously been around on the Marvel comics for a while now.
And I
But
talked about that a lot that this last Tuesday on the new DC Day video. They did it for that issue 900 just to try to up the attention on that one. But it looks like they're keeping it. Where issue 900, the legacy number was big and the one whatever was
right,
small. Now they've switched it around. So I'm all for it. I'm
right,
100% all for it. It keeps the old readers and fans happy. They can track the number they want and they can do as many whatevers for new people as
right.
they want.
So I assume we'll see probably Flash 801 on the first number one when that
God, I
comes out.
hope so.
So yeah, that would be cool. But that's going to be it. Again, two really strong issues. Definitely a great celebration of the Flash. If you haven't, there's a cover out there that that you'll like if because there's so many different kind of covers out there. So definitely go. Uh, BTC also has Flash 800 covers as well. So go to Big Time Collectibles. They have some of the foil ones that they're selling as well. So look to there. But yeah, that's going to be it. As always, I am Paul. He.
I am Mark.
But we are Legion.
You're now leaving Sector 2815.
Oh, but don't forget to subscribe, hit the
Like,
notification bell, like all
leave
that
us
good
some
stuff too.
comments.
So
What do you think of this stuff? Bye.
yeah, bye.